What's up, Bachelor Nation? Welcome back to the Batch Buzz. Today, I am going to be recapping, discussing, and giving my opinions on Peter's finale parts 1 and 2. I waited to put both of these together in one video because I had some family matters going on and I wasn't able to record Monday or Tuesday night. So here I am, Thursday, recording it, and hopefully it'll be up tonight. If not, it'll be up the Friday after Peter's season ended. So to get right into it, let's talk about part 1 of the finale. So the first thing that we see is Hannah Ann meeting Peter's family. We see them talk at the beginning. She's excited. They're talking. She keeps telling him that she loves him and that she's in love with him and that she's not afraid to say it. And honestly, kind of felt weird. I have been starting to like Hannah Ann more in the last few episodes, but this just felt kind of awkward to me. And same thing with her meeting his family. Right away when they met, I could tell that Barb was going to be talking about Hannah Ann. I could just tell because she kept talking about how perfect she is and how sweet she is and how she reminds her of herself. And it was just all kind of awkward, but you know what? Whatever. Barb felt that way. We gotta let Barb roll because as we see in the end of part 1 and all of part 2, Barb has a lot to say and it isn't necessarily always the best thing, but she says it anyways. So after that, we see Madison meet Peter's family. Again, because remember, Madison met Peter's family on their one-on-one, the very first one-on-one actually of the entire season at Barb and Peter Sr.'s vow renewal. That's something that I like to keep in mind when talking about Madison meeting Peter's family. So Madison and Peter talk before meeting his family. This is the first time they saw each other after their lack of fantasy suite date, should I say, and after the whole rose ceremony, are you sure you want to accept this rose? Yeah, debacle. So they talk, they kind of go back and forth a little bit. I don't have much to say on this just because I feel like at the end of the day, Peter and Madison going back and forth on fantasy suites and whether or not he should have slept with the other women and whether or not it was right and all of that. It's kind of water under the bridge at this point just because it happened. It's over. She accepted the rose. Regardless of when she decided to tell him that she was waiting for marriage and what her values about sex were, it's over. It's done with. Neither one of them can take back anything that they did in regards to that. So there's really no point in even going back and forth on that, like I know much of Bachelor Nation has been doing. So Madison goes inside. She meets Peter's family. They grill her, absolutely grill her. The look on Barb's face looks like she just smelled like a really bad fart. Peter's dad was not as bad. I did kind of expect him to be a little bit worse and a little bit harsher on Madison. He was actually not that bad when she expressed to him how she feels and why she feels the way that she does. He actually seemed to kind of warm up a little bit. The one that did kind of leave me extremely underwhelmed was Peter's brother, Jack. I didn't really understand why he was so invested in his brother's sex life and whether or not he wants to line dance or go to church with Maddie. I just thought that was really awkward. And I'm not even sure why producers put that in to begin with because I was uncomfortable watching the whole thing. So that ends. Peter goes back inside after Maddie leaves. And of course, we finally see the infamous "don't let her go" scene. And again, after I saw Hannah Ann and Maddie meet Peter's family, wasn't even surprised that her "don't let her go, bring her home to us" was about Hannah Ann. Now, this literally disgusted me to no absolute end. Barb here is literally so dramatic. It's so cringy. She is more manipulative here than we've ever seen her or any of the other women throughout Peter's season. And frankly, it is disgusting. I couldn't stand to watch this. I hated seeing this. And I don't even understand why she felt so adamant about this, considering that she had barely met Hannah Ann. The whole interaction between her and Hannah Ann just felt really fabricated in the sense of you could tell that Hannah Ann was just kissing a little bit of ass, you know? You could tell that she just really wanted to impress her possible future mother-in-law, and it was just so boring. And Maddie's was just so real and raw and genuine. No pun intended there with the whole Instagram back and forth on whether or not Maddie made a fan page about herself. That really was not intended. So, end it all about both girls meeting his family. I thought it was just so messy, so extra, and I wish Barb would have just been happy for her son and regardless of who he chose, she would have just been supportive. And same thing with his brother and his father. So whatever. After that, we have both one-on-ones. So Maddie and Peter get together. They go hang out, and Maddie breaks up with Peter. Again, not a lot to say on this, mostly because of what we saw in part 2. I will say, though, I did think it was very selfless of her. I do wish that if she was going to do this, she would have done this before. Maybe not wait until the whole meeting the families and everything. But then again, maybe she did it because she felt like after she met his family again and they got to talking, that's when she really realized that there were some compatibility issues there. I do think that those were very obvious from the beginning, so I'm not sure why both of them didn't see it until the very end. But again, it's over. It's done with. I'm just glad that they got to talking and that she was very adult about it and just took everything into consideration that had happened while she was meeting Peter's family and made a decision based off of that. After that, still awkward. Peter doesn't tell Hannah Ann anything about Madison leaving, and they still have to go play with some kangaroos and then have a little hangout. The little hangout was so awkward. Hannah Ann is over here in a super tight, super elegant bodycon dress, and Peter was wearing a hoodie. Whatever. Awkward. I was waiting for him to tell her that Madison left and that she was the only one. And of course, he didn't tell her. And it was just so wrong. I felt like that was just so not the right thing to do. I think he should have told her, Madison left, you're the one here, and that he was still going to make a decision based off of that, because at the end of the day, yeah, I guess technically by that she won by default, but he didn't necessarily have to pick her anyways. So if he would have been open and honest with her about it, I think that they could have had a good conversation about it, and Hannah Ann would have been able to assess where his head was at, where his feelings were at, and, they would have been able to have an adult conversation about it, and whatever. That's all I have to say about part 1. Part 1 was super messy, didn't like it at all, super underwhelming, and I basically saw what was going to happen in part 2 just from seeing part 1. So, now on to part 2. Very first thing we see, Peter talking about how emo he is, that Madison is gone. Boom, he proposes to Hannah Ann, picks out a kneeling ring, says it's perfect, gives her this super long speech about how perfect she is and all this stuff that he's been saying for weeks, yet still pines over Maddie and whatever. They get engaged. The engagement was super awkward. The little celebration at the end felt so teenager. I felt like I was watching a couple off of Teen Mom get engaged. It was just so uncomfortable for me. She was just like, really? You love me? And no shade to Hannah Ann. I actually really like her now after the finale, but it was just, I couldn't help but wince as I was watching that because it just made it so awkward for me. So after that, we see Hannah Ann and Peter break up. Now here, I will say, I think Peter handled it pretty well. I'm glad that he did it in person and didn't try to do some texting her thing. But I will say, I got Ari vibes from all of this, and I hated that because Hannah Ann deserved better. I wish that it wouldn't have even happened at all, and it wouldn't have aired. I feel like after Becca and Ari broke up, Bachelor producers would have learned that that's not something that people want to see, those raw films. At least me, as a Bachelor Nation member, I don't like seeing things like that. I hate seeing people hurt, and I couldn't get over that. I wasn't a fan of that at all. I wish we wouldn't have had it, and I just feel like Hannah Ann deserved better, and that clip made it seem like Peter was somebody to feel bad for because he was so torn even after being engaged, and I was just not a fan of that breakup at all. So then after that, we see Hannah Ann talk to Chris Harrison, and honestly, I freaking loved this. I thought it was so awesome how she just got up on there, and she was telling her feelings, and then she told Peter off, and told him that he's not a real man, and that he needs to become a real man to get a real woman, and I just thought that was so badass. I think she's awesome. I don't know if we're going to see her in Paradise, or if we're going to get a future Bachelorette season from her, and I don't even know if we should, but I think she's great. I think she handled that with so much grace and so much elegance, and I'm just really proud of her for doing that, honestly. I don't think she could have handled that any better than she did, and I'm so glad that we got to see that on live television. Now, what came after that was Madison meeting with Chris Harrison. Now, this part I honestly thought was a little bit weird, especially the fact that Chris Harrison said that Peter had no idea that he was going to go see Madison. I just thought that it was odd because the way that I look at it is, yeah, Peter and Hannah Ann broke up because Peter couldn't get over Madison, but I just find it really unlikely that Chris Harrison and the producers went to Madison all the way in Auburn, Alabama, without telling Peter, who was all the way in Los Angeles, California. Like, I don't know. I just thought it was kind of off. Not saying that it's not true, but it was just kind of weird to me. It didn't seem, real, I guess. I mean, her reaction seemed real. I loved the fact that she asked if he was okay when Chris Harrison said that Peter was single. I was just kind of taken aback by the whole situation and the whole secrecy of it and the whole, oh, Peter doesn't know that I'm here thing. It was just kind of weird to me. But I thought it was a great moment. I thought we really got to see a more loving and invested into the Bachelor type of attitude from Madison that we hadn't really seen as much, because she was so guarded and so worried about all her differences with Peter regarding their sex life and, their morals and their faith and all this kind of stuff. So I thought that was really cool to see. I thought it brought out a side of Madison that we needed to see. I wish we would have been able to see it way earlier into the season. I think it would have helped a lot of different situations from not happening, such as the 3 girls being put in together in the same exact hotel room during Fantasy Suite Week, and the rose ceremony and the final 3, and just all kinds of drama that you could tell was produced by the producers, but could have easily been avoided had opportunities like the one that Madison had with Chris Harrison happened way earlier in the season, or at least a couple of weeks before the proposal was supposed to happen. Now, the next thing that we saw after that was Madison and Peter join on stage, and I thought this was so weird to me. Like, we saw this super passionate, super excited couple the entire season, and all of a sudden we see Peter and Madison and they're just kind of awkward, not even really touching each other. I thought that it was just a really weird encounter. It didn't seem like them, but I guess a lot of it could also be attributed to the fact that Barb was so against them, and Madison was finally seeing all of this play out on television yesterday, that perhaps it was just uncomfortable due to a multitude of different things that were surrounding them and not necessarily them as a potential partnership. But regardless, I thought that it was cool. I thought that it was nice to see them talk it out and talk about their feelings and the different ways that their relationship had changed since the end of the show and how it had slightly progressed since Chris Harrison and Madison met up in Alabama. Now, the part that I really, really loved about their sit down was the confrontation with Madison and Barb. I cannot express how annoyed I was watching Barb just constantly call out Madison and make it seem like she was literally the devil's spawn on live television. It was so disgusting to me, and I just couldn't wrap my head around the fact that somebody, especially a mother who loves her son so much, would be so rude to the person that her son is literally saying that he is in love with and he has done everything to be with, including break up an engagement that he didn't want to break up necessarily, because Peter did say that he didn't want to regret letting Hannah Ann go, but that he knew he had to because he wanted to be with Madison. It was horrifying to me how she just sat there and was constantly asking for people to just boo her, basically. Like, that's how I felt it was. I feel like it was just a situation in which she wanted people to boo her, because the way that she was talking so negatively, it didn't even seem human to me. It was just insane, and it was disappointing from her because we always see mothers as the people that want to encourage us the most, for the most part. And the fact that Peter's mom was just so against this and literally said that Peter has to fail before he can succeed was just mind-blowing to me. And especially the fact that Barb asked Peter Sr. to help her when Chris Harrison asked Peter Sr. for his opinion on the situation. And the fact that she asked him in Spanish, thinking that, half, maybe more, who knows, of Bachelor Nation doesn't speak Spanish, was just absolutely ridiculous to me. I, as a Hispanic woman from Miami, understood that perfectly, and it was so gross to hear her literally ask him for help and to say something to help her out. It was just really, really upsetting, and I can't even imagine what I would have done had I been in that situation. So regardless of what people have to say about Madison and Peter, or Madison and Hannah Ann's relationship, or whatever might be left of their potential friendship, or Peter and Hannah Ann, regardless of what anybody could say about this season, I think the way that Madison handled herself when Barb was calling her out, and the way that she countered and said that she disagreed with what she was saying and put her foot down and defended herself, was probably hands down the best part of this entire season. And I just think that that was amazing. And on top of that, the fact that Peter did defend Madison, I think that Bachelor Nation really needed to see that. You know, we didn't really see that when she was doing the whole "don't let her go, she's not here for you" thing in Australia. So the fact that we did see Peter defend her now was beautiful and amazing. And I really thought that that was another major highlight of the show. And it showed that, you know, there's a potential there for Peter and Madison to actually work out if he were to actually stand up in front to his parents, stand up to the rest of his family, put his foot down and say, I'm in love with this woman, I'm going to be with this woman, and we're going to make things work, besides the fact that, you know, we're going to have some bumps along the way because of our differences, but those are not going to be obstacles that are going to tear us down. So I just thought that was great, and I really hope that he actually pulls through with that, because I think it would be a beautiful thing to add to Bachelor history. So the next thing that I wanted to talk about was Claire coming out. I thought that Claire had such a good introduction. I know that it was short. It was probably about maybe 4 or 5 minutes or less, if you want to include that they did throw in that clip of her at the final rose ceremony with Juan Pablo. So technically her speaking was actually even less time. But I just thought it was such a great introduction. She was so bubbly, so full of life and excited, and I thought that was beautiful. I'm so excited for her season, guys. I'm kind of disappointed that we didn't get to meet some of her men on the show the way that we have seen in a few past Bachelorette introductions on season finales of The Bachelor. But I guess a lot of that could be due to the fact that some people literally just got hired from the season, since some Bachelor producers wanted to switch out some of the men for other contestants that maybe were older, more mature, or had more things in line with Claire. So that was a little bit disappointing. But regardless, I am going to come out with a video introducing all of Claire's men, probably sometime next week. Not sure exactly what day, but definitely sometime next week. I'm super excited for Claire's season. I think she's going to have a great run. I think she's so mature and just ready for this that it's going to be a breath of fresh air. And I really hope that Bachelor producers do throw in some drama, because at the end of the day, that's what reality television is all about. But I do hope that they don't try to mess up her season, because I do kind of feel like there was a little bit of sabotage in Peter's season with certain things. So all in all, I'm really happy with Claire and the way that she was introduced. I think it's going to be a wonderful season. It's going to be new and exciting and refreshing to see somebody from a few years ago and not necessarily somebody from Peter's season. I am kind of disappointed at the fact that Chris Harrison kept talking about Peter's season ending in some super crazy way that nobody was looking forward to or nobody was predicting. But you know, I guess that's just part of the whole reality spiel of saying the most dramatic ending ever, but I think it was pretty relatable. I think it was pretty comparable to other people like Jason and Ari. I didn't think it was anything too crazy out of this world. Maybe the craziest part was that Peter and Madison finalized their relationship in front of live television and confronted Barb, instead of doing it a couple months ago when it finished filming and then airing it live. I don't know. I didn't think it was that crazy, but regardless, I think it was a good ending. I'm excited to see where Peter and Madison go, if they go anywhere at all. And I'm excited to see what happens with Hannah Ann. I think that she deserves love. I think that she matured a lot and showed a lot of character growth. And I'm excited to see where that goes for her. So as far as this recap, discussion, and opinion goes, I am going to give this final an 8 out of 10. I will probably be coming out with another video also rating Peter's season as a whole. That won't be for a little while though. I definitely want to get rolling with Claire's season before I do anything related to Peter's season. I want to let that cool off a little bit before I discuss that. So stay tuned. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to my channel so that way you guys don't miss any videos. Turn on your post notifications and follow me on my social media accounts. My Twitter is batch_buzz and my Instagram is just @batchbuzz. Follow me on there. I post almost every day, constant updates, opinions, discussions, things like that. And stay tuned for the next one. Until next time, that's it. See you next time, Batch Buzz.